shooting at?
Means you're a fucking what do you think?
You guys.
With the exception of the Boy Meets World kid.
Well, he's nothing. All the other characters are douchebags, and he's just kind of there.
And then, spoilers, they all die miserably. The second half of the movie is just everything goes to shit, and this virus spreads around, and everyone dies in awful, kind of horrible ways.
Well, it's kind of a Romero setup of your characters. Their downfall is not the outside threat; it's themselves because they start turning on each other.
Yeah.
But then there's lots of other things piled on top of that have nothing to do with the virus, which makes the movie very messy, which is what I think is kind of fun and interesting about it.
For being a low budget, relatively speaking, low budget movie, because I think it was like $1 million to make or something.
Yeah, it was made independently, and then it got picked up by Lionsgate and became a moderate hit.
Yeah, I think it was like one of the biggest profitable horror movies of 2002.
Yeah, and so I think a lot of people that went to see it were seeing it as just a horror movie. I was, as someone who's grown up on cheap B-movie schlock, I was like, this is like one of those types of movies in like a mainstream movie theater.
Yeah, and we have different tastes. You enjoy body horror, schlocky B-movie horror. I do as well, but as long as it's clever and well put together and well thought out, like like a Shaun of the Dead, where I mean, yeah.
As far as horror comedies, that's the gold standard.
And that's the thing is that this is my brain kept going, is this a black comedy, or is he trying to be serious and artsy here, or is he trying to make this like a stoner comedy, or does he think this is funny? As a 54-year-old man now, I look at it and I say, oh, this feels so amateurish now.
Yeah.
Like his pointless director cameo.
Awesome.
And like that stupid scene where the kid does the karate and yells pancakes. Where where
Best part of the movie.
No pancakes.
Pancakes!
No pancakes!
inside jokey territory, like when you and I used to make movies in high school.
We just put stupid shit in there to make ourselves laugh.
Yes.
I can see that. It's definitely a case of, because it was Eli Roth's first movie. We'll talk more about Eli Roth. But it's that classic case of like a first-time filmmaker just saying like, I'm gonna put everything I love into this movie. So there's elements of like 80s sex comedies, there's Evil Dead, there's like 70s grindhouse stuff.
Right. And Evil Dead 2 is another good example alongside Shaun of the Dead, where it knows exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you're saying he's throwing everything in the kitchen sink in there because he can. And that's one of the unique qualities of the movie. Since it was independently made, there wasn't a big studio going, no.
Can't do this, you gotta cut this, cut the pancakes, kid.
Yeah, that scene is weird.
Maybe cut down on how many times characters call each other gay or retarded.
Why would you want to kill squirrels?
Because they're gay?
Bert, don't be a fucking retard.
So wait, you like me now? Is this like a date?
Don't be gay.
Yeah. Well, hey, it was the early 2000s.
That's true, it was a different time.
That shit wouldn't fly today.
So what's the fox you're running for?
Oh, that's for foxes.
What's the rifle for?
Oh, that's for
Neither does that particular joke. At first, I thought he was doing it for shock. I mean, it's the best N-word joke in any movie, right?
It almost works.
Well, here you go, all polished and everything. Isn't that a beauty?
Well, that's what killed it for me, is like the hip-hop music. Like, you're making a joke about racism, but that's a little racist putting the hip-hop music.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, you could have done it a little differently.
Play completely dramatically.
Yeah.
Having them walk up with like hip-hop music, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, it was awkwardly presented. In concept, it's funny.
Yeah.
It's this classic bait and switch.
But like you said about like the studio meddling is like, yeah, like that type of humor should not be in a serious like body horror paranoia film, but it's all just in there. And I remember reading interviews with Eli Roth before the movie came out, and he was talking about how it's like I wanted to make like a real horror movie because horror has kind of been watered down. And this is like the early 2000s, so you have like the post-Scream stuff, and everything was like teen actors, like WB actors, and it's like I want to make a real like gritty horror movie with violence and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, that's great. But then I saw the movie and I was like, oh wait, he didn't make a horror movie. He made a comedy.
He wanted some nudity. He wanted some violence, blood splattering, dogs to eat people with bodies apart.
That's what I say when it like if the movie is about a virus that starts to infect this group of kids and they start to turn on each other, like that's your movie. But then on top of that, you also have this violent dog. You've got the creepy locals. Like it's all these things.
Yeah, like this general store owner always looks like a SNL skit character.
Everybody knows not to sit next to Dennis. Longer will give you tetanus.
It just looks like it's coming out of a comedy movie.
Yeah.
It's not like creepy, and the dynamic between all the characters. Like you said, if you wanted to make a virus movie about where 5 or 6 main characters all turn on each other, you need to set up all these like complicated internal conflicts. The only thing they had was the Boy Meets World kid was in love with the blonde-haired girl.
Don't be gay.
And she's a little flaky.
And the one guy is a law student, and he's a germaphobe. And then the other guy with the FU hat,
Yeah.
he is also kind of like a hothead. He's also germaphobe, but he gets really angry.
He's the biggest douchebag. He's the most obnoxious. He wants to shoot squirrels because they're gay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this. He has a date on his T-shirt.
Yeah, what is that?
That is the date that the Olsen twins turn 18.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes. So it's like it's slimy, like. But that's one of the things I think is kind of interesting is what, like he's portrayed as the biggest dickhead and the biggest like obnoxious character, but the minute that things start to get serious, he kind of takes control.
He's the most rational.
And he's like, because the blonde girl gets infected, and they're trying to rush in the room to help her, and he's like, no, he's like yelling at them to stay out.
Well, first the infected patient zero guy comes to the door.
Yeah.
He's like, don't let him in.
So I thought that was interesting that you have the most obnoxious character who ends up kind of taking the most control as the movie goes along.
Well, you could twist up all the, the tropes and the stereotypes, like, the I think that he kind of did that because the blonde and the Boy Meets World guy, whatever the fuck his name is.
He's Boy Meets World forever.
She seems to be the most like pure one, like I don't know, but she's the first to get infected.
How intentional was it for the Boy Meets World character to be rapey? Was that supposed to be a sweet moment that then turns into a horror moment?
Yeah, it was definitely the most uncomfortable scene. Like he's obviously very timid. He's scared to make the move.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah, and then so someone calls him like a pussy.
Just stick with the girls, all right?
What's that supposed to mean?
Means you're a fucking pussy. What do you think?
And so maybe that was him trying to be assertive. Like she was quasi asleep, trying to get that engine going. Whether or not she liked it or not, Boy Meets World was getting a little handsy.
It's a little like that's when you kind of like, because I used to not defend Eli Roth, but I was like, oh, he clearly has a very strong knowledge of horror. He loves horror.
Yeah.
Unapologetically, even like weird, Italian cannibal movies and shit like that. So I was like, oh, okay. He's made these characters obnoxious because those are the type of characters you have in like a Friday the 13th movie. You're not necessarily supposed to like them.
Because you write what you know.
But then, yeah, the more you see interviews with him and stuff, you're like, oh, that's kind of just him. He's a little douchey.
People would come out and they're like, your movie's really homophobic. Which, of course, makes me respond going, what a faggy thing to say. Like, I can't help.
Wait, let's talk about the plot.
Okay.
Patient Zero, we'll call him. Man in the woods.
Presumably homeless, I guess?
The actor? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does the character have a name?
I don't know. I think he's living out in those woods, right?
Okay. The guy's carrying a rabbit and he comes and finds his dog, and his dog is dead and has been infected with the disease. So I guess the dog is patient zero.
Yeah.
Where the dog got it from, I don't know, but the guy's burnt body, after he pounds on the door of the cabin, and then the kids light him on fire and he runs away, he eventually falls into the water, and that infects the stream. And so when the evil townsfolk, the sheriff and his deputies all burn the bodies, I thought they were involved in like a cover-up, but they're just burning the bodies because...
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
I don't know. If you expanded on it, where it's like that's the town's main income is from their bottled water, so they don't want it to get out that the water's infected.
Yeah.
But it seems unrelated. Yeah.
Because there's a joke where the natural spring water truck leaves.
Yeah.
And the
And then
kids-
they're drinking the lemonade from the kids.
Kids scoop the water, so it's like, oh, it's spreading. That's like kind of sequel bait almost, but not really. And so they were unaware that the water supply was tainted. It would be like interesting, like, oh yeah, that's a river, but you know, the mayor of the town is dumping illegal chemicals here, and he's not supposed to.
Yeah.
but,
That's where
you know.
the virus started from, or
Yeah,
something.
so the mayor says, well, stop doing that. Burn all those college kids because they know the secret.
Yeah.
Or let's wipe their existence out so no one comes looking for them. So we don't get caught doing this bad thing. But it's
Yeah,
not
it's-
really that. It's
I've always been confused. At the end, you have the goofy Deputy Winston character, the party man character.
Howdy, ma'am. Everything's fine. Go back inside, have yourself a big 40, just party.
Okay.
And we have Boy Meets World is in the hospital, and then it cuts to Deputy Winston driving the car, and he's like talking back to him. It almost feels like it was shot later without Boy Meets World there, because he doesn't respond, but Deputy Winston talks to him as if he responded.
You have a long night of partying, man. I'm gonna tell you that. A long night. I ain't got no water, man. All I got's a 40.
And then we see all of his friends being burned on a bonfire, and then it just cuts to him in a pond or
Yeah,
in the lake.
yeah.
And I was like, how did he get there? Did Deputy Winston toss him
Yeah,
there?
it's not explained.
I've always been confused about what the hell happened.
I think they're two unrelated things because there's two police officers and a doctor, and they're asking Boy Meets World what happened. And he starts telling them the truth. You know, a crazy guy who was infected with a virus came to our cabin, blah, 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 blah. And then they're like, let's step outside. And they say something like, well, we're not prepared to deal with this.
We're not equipped to handle a situation like this. Cook County's his only shot.
Fine. You put him in the car.
And it was implied that Boy Meets World was given to Party Guy for him to kill him.
Yeah.
So I think Party Guy eventually took him, made him get out of the cop car on the side of the road, probably shot him,
Assumed he would die on his own or something.
or shot him, killed him. Boy Meets
That's a
World.
scene.
Yeah,
Had that happen in the movie.
Well, we need to see it.
Yeah.
He rolled down the hill and landed in the river.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Even though the river has already been infected by the disease.
Oh, here's what I think, man.
Okay.
Party Guy is a fuck up. He was told to do this thing, but he did it wrong. He shot Boy Meets World. Boy Meets World fell down the hill and was partially stuck into the river. A competent sheriff scooped up the burnt body, disposed of that, burned the rest of the infected, and said, Boy Meets World is also in this bonfire, I guess, because I told Deputy's Party Guy to do it.
Oh, he assumed the body was in that.
Yes, or
Okay.
he assumed Deputy Party Guy disposed of it properly, but Party Guy also then created another strain of the deadly disease by being irresponsible and disposing of the body improperly, which has then ended up in the river, infecting the lemonade and the bottled water leaving the town.
Well, it's very convoluted. It involves a lot of assumptions.
It involves a lot of missing scenes.
Yes, yes.
Like a Party Guy, you know, he's like, I'm supposed to kill you now. Oh, he gets a phone call. There's a party happening. Or I'm supposed to bring you to this bonfire to burn you alive. Oh, there's a party happening. I gotta go. Shoots him. Rolls down the hill. Yeah.
The coyotes will take care of him.
Coyotes will take care of him. Yeah, he won't make it far. And then Boy Meets World is still alive and struggles to get to the river.
Yeah.
And falls and dies in the river. And then Party Guy picks up his cell phone and says, yes, Sheriff. Yep, shot him good. I buried him in the dirt. He's done for. I'm lying because I want to go party.
Yeah. Yeah, even when we see the bonfire, the sheriff or whoever it is turns to Deputy Winston, and he's like, "Did you take care of the other one?"
You got rid of that other one, right?
Hey, I think there's another one in the basement.
And that's where you should have a moment of where he's like, nervous that he's going to find out that he didn't actually dispose of him properly, but he doesn't have any real reaction to it. It's very bizarre.
He ran out of money. Eli Roth ran out of money.
That's what I know.
Fine.
I know the movie got shut down at one point because it was being shot non-union, and the unions came around and like hassled them and got the movie shut down. So I don't know if that affected certain things in the movie, but
There's a thing about the guy. Someone kept having eye injuries.
oh, that's the blonde guy. He got like a shard of glass in his eye or something. So
Yeah.
there's multiple scenes in the movie where you just see him in profile
Yeah.
of the side that
He had to
didn't.
leave the set. They had to shoot things like they'd shoot daytime scenes in the cabin at night, so they blasted tons of light through the window, and it's sloppy, kind of low budget. It's not flawless.
Blonde guy though is the smartest character in the movie. That's what I say. This is the first movie I thought of when this whole pandemic thing started.
Stop! Stop! I don't want to get sick. I don't want any of us getting sick. But you two fucking fuckers insist on touching her, so you two can fucking rot. But not me. No fucking way, not me.
Then he runs out into the woods with cases of beer to hide in the cave. It's like, that's me.
Wise decision.
Wise decision, but then they kind of pay it off in an ironic way, but you see it coming a mile away because we hold on him in the cabin. He comes back, everybody's dead, and then he's like, "I made it," and they just hold on him saying that over and over.
I did it. I fucking made it. I knew it. I knew it. I fucking made it.
And you're just like, "All right, shoot him now."
It's a poorly done homage to Night of the Living Dead.
It's the Night of the Living Dead ending, but telegraphed from a mile away.
Good shot. Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.
What is the appeal of this movie? Is it the gory nature of it? Is it the unconventional kind of plotting?
That's it for me, where it's just like we said, like this would not get made by a studio. It has this kind of devil may care attitude that I think is fun. But it does get distracting in certain points where it's like, because I remember I enjoyed the movie the first time I saw it just because I thought it was funny. Some intentional, some not intentional.
Paul, that guy asked for our help. We lit him on fire.
There's a good horror movie to be made about, a virus spreading and friends turning on each other, and I would like to see that movie too. But there's something to like when like Boy Meets World is driving that pickup truck, and then a deer comes through.
Yeah.
And the deers like kick in, and it's just like another thing. It becomes like so many like absurd things stacked on top of each other.
It's an awkwardly done hodgepodge of homages to many different types of horror movies. The deer part, very Evil Dead.
Yeah.
There's even like dog cam at one point.
Yeah,
where it's
like POV, but it's like
red.
filtered red. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that in there?
Yeah, it's like the Night of the Living Dead part. I mean, there's just a lot of different styles, and it's like all kind of mishmashed together.
The way they make the blonde girl, they quarantine her. They ever go out to the work shed.
Yeah.
And even the cabin and where the work shed is like identical to Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
Work shed.
But having her go out there is just like what they do to Wilford Brimley in The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest laugh in the movie for me, and I'm not sure if it's intentional or not. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like shocking, but they quarantine her and she's just in the shed rotting, and then Boy Meets World and the other girl have sex, and it shows them like having sex, and then it just hard cuts to blonde girl rotting, and like it's such a like abrupt cut. It always makes me laugh, and I don't know if it's on purpose.
Yeah, the brunette and the blonde-haired guy, the lawyer character, they immediately start having sex. So it's like, but then the airplane, when she's like, I feel like I'm on an airplane that's crashing.
All you really want to do is grab the person next to you and fuck the shit out of them, because, you're going to be dead soon anyway.
And it's almost like a joke on, when characters in horror movies have sex at the most inappropriate time
Sure.
for TNA purposes in horror movies, where it's almost like, oh, come on.
Again, though, is that intentional?
Yeah. Was that the joke?
Yeah.
Was to play off that trope from horror movies, or was it something else? And then it's like the Boy Meets World character is no longer our likable protagonist because I guess he's done with blonde-haired girl. Now that,
Just immediately goes after the other girl, yeah.
Now that she looks like Evil Ash.
And there's other things that feel very David Lynchian. We should talk about the David Lynch connection, which nobody ever talks about.
You go ahead and you talk all day about that joke.
Well, this might be a Mandela effect thing, but I swear I remember reading an interview with Eli Roth before the movie came out, maybe while it was even still being made, I don't even know, like some obscure horror movie website. And that's where I'd first heard of Eli Roth, and he was talking about David Lynch is the executive producer of Cabin Fever. There's no information about this anywhere. There's like one Variety article I could find in searching that said David Lynch was going to produce this horror movie. Because Eli Roth apparently started out as like an assistant to David Lynch. Like he worked on David Lynch's old website, which was a weird website.
Coiffed his hair.
So yeah, he was like executive producer of the movie. Angelo Badalamenti, who's done the music for a lot of David Lynch stuff, did a few pieces of music for this movie.
I saw that in the credits.
Jordan Ladd, the blonde girl, she's been in some David Lynch stuff. So there's lots of David Lynch connections.
But there's no Lynch pin.
The movie came out, and his name is not anywhere attached to it. And I'm like, did David Lynch look at the movie and just say, no, I don't want my name attached to this fucking crap?
Bullshit. Total fucking bullshit.
So I wonder, like, I never heard David Lynch talk about it. I've never heard Eli Roth mention it. It's like it's this unspoken thing where David Lynch just said, I'm never talking to you again. I have no idea. I've always been curious.
Was the bunny costume a Shining homage?
I assumed so, yeah. That's meant to be a what the fuck moment. Like you see the bear giving a blowjob in The Shining. Here we have although the bunny is, I think, holding a plate of pancakes. Yeah. It's like, just have the kid yell pancakes. Don't have that tie in with anything. But that's another thing where it's like, I'm just going to put this in here.
It's like, all right. Well, it's like the little POV kind of feverish.
Yeah, it could be
it's explainable, like the effects of the virus are taken in and he's hallucinating.
Yeah.
Things that have happened, because the bunny could be a reference to the rabbit in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
But Boy Meets World didn't witness that, so
Right.
it wouldn't be in his head. It's a little attempt at artsiness, I guess. I don't know. I think it's. I don't know much about Eli Roth, and based on your description, it seems like it perfectly encapsulates him.
Sure.
A guy with ambition to make a movie who thinks he's pretty clever, is sort of clever, but relies heavily on things that influenced him.
Yeah. And in addition to that, things that just make him laugh.
Yes.
That where if an audience is watching the movie, you're like, what? What is this?
He's not a genius. He's a filmmaker that kind of sucks up stuff and turns it into something mediocre. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Dare I say a George Lucas?
Oh my God! Is his remake of Death Wish with Bruce Willis? Is that The Phantom Menace? Because it's the most boring thing ever.
I think I harbor a resentment for Eli Roth because on the Cabin Fever DVD, he includes his short films from college, I think.
Fuck that show and fuck those fucking cherries. Look at those fucking ginger beers.
Here's what I think of those fascist press.
Oh, I see.
At the time I saw this, I was making Orange's Revenge of the Eggplant.
Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And doing fruit short films since fucking high school. And I said, damn it. I make the fruit films.
Don't be gay.
Well, I guess that's all there is to say about 2002's Cabin Fever.
That was our revisit. I beat you!
Oh, we're all gonna die. Who cares?
It's true. Yeah, and on that note, we'll leave you with this picture of Jason Momoa buying tons of bottled water from Costco.
Hey, ever feel like modern society is slowly imploding? Cool, let's talk about Star Trek. I'm a fan of Star Trek, though I'm not a die-hard one. In fact, I'm still catching up. I've seen the old stuff, skipped most of Deep Space Nine, seen Voyager. I'm currently very slowly going through Enterprise. I'll eventually get to Discovery and Picard. I've heard everyone say Discovery is bad, but I want to see how bad for myself. Though I should be careful what I wish for, since I stopped watching the movies after Into Darkness, since I honestly think they were trolling fans of the show in that one. Anyway, besides Into Darkness, which is just stupid, I have a pretty easy test for whether I'll like a Star Trek episode or not. Are we going where no one has gone before? Seeing insane aliens, anomalies, trying to blow your mind in general? Or are we having a soap opera in space? I'm out the door when it comes to the latter, but yeah, I'll stay for the insanity. Well, I want to talk about a certain episode from The Next Generation that I keep finding myself dwelling on. Now, this is not my favorite episode. That would be the Big Borg episode, followed closely by the first Borg encounter. Man, the Borg were some of the best villains ever until the show started humanizing them and making them emotional. Then it all went to hell. They should have kept them the cold, terrifying, cryptic aliens that they were. Alright, I'm getting off track. The episode I want to talk about is Symbiosis. Now, my first impression was this was a mediocre episode. Okay, but nothing great. But looking back on it, I think this was secretly one of the more hardcore episodes made. Okay, here's the plot. The Enterprise is out and about, and they're getting a bunch of EMP interference with their equipment when they get a distress call from this freighter that's about to burn up in the atmosphere. The Enterprise tries to save them and gets most of them, but loses a couple because the ship sent over their cargo first. We find out later the cargo is a medicine for a plague that affects one of the nearby planets. There are two planets, Ornara and Brekka. I'm just going to call them Planet A and Planet B. Turns out they have an interdependency on each other. Everyone on Planet A is infected with a deadly plague. There's no cure. However, the treatment for it is found in a substance that can only be grown on Planet B. So their entire civilizations revolve around this. All of Planet A is devoted to providing goods and services for Planet B, and all of Planet B is devoted towards manufacturing the treatment for Planet A. The people on Planet B are not infected with the plague. Plus, we also get the vibe that Planet A is mostly working class, and Planet B is upper class. And to complicate things, their space fleets are on their last legs, and currently won't be able to make future runs without special parts. That knowledge of appears to have been lost to history? That part wasn't clear to me, but the Enterprise is helping them make replacements. Most of the episode is them arguing about who gets the shipment, since the Planet B people are acting as though they'd rather let Planet A die than not get payment for their shipment, since it went down with their ship. It's a mess, but the twist in the tale comes when Dr. Crusher sees the Planet A people take their treatment and realizes this isn't medicine at all. It's addictive drugs. Uh-oh. Turns out the Planet B people know this and have been using this to their advantage to use Planet A's population almost like slave labor. All of Planet A still thinks they have a plague and needs these drugs to live. Anyway, by the end of the episode, Picard decides he'll return all of them to Planet A with the drugs, but he changed his mind. He's not going to give them the ship parts. They're going to have to sort this out themselves. The episode ends with him talking about how great the Prime Directive is. The end. So, kind of a ho-hum episode. It's also a little ham-fisted, with 5 minutes devoted to a drugs are bad speech, okay? The whole episode was a parable on the evils of the drug trade market. It's still watchable though. Probably the most extreme example of that sort of thing was one from the original series, where the whole episode was just them saying, the Vietnam War is bad, okay? So, not the best, but whoa. Back up. What the hell did Picard just do here? Let's review. Everyone on Planet A thinks they're dying of the plague and needs the drugs. I mean, medicine. Everyone on Planet B is utterly dependent on the labor and resources from Planet A. Their space travel is now down, and the episode makes it look like it's not coming back anytime soon. So instead, an entire population of what are essentially heroin addicts are going to have to go through withdrawal. That is a recipe for chaos like no other. More on that in a second. Now, Picard keeps mentioning the Prime Directive, saying, whoa, can't interfere. Except he did interfere. If the Enterprise hadn't shown up, the drugs would have burned up in the atmosphere. So let's be perfectly clear. Instead, he is telling a world of heroin addicts they are on their own. No more heroin coming, except for one shipment left. And it contains billions of doses. Okay guys, good luck sorting that out. What the show neglects to mention is, do you have any idea how destabilizing that would be? And really, this would be even worse than actual heroin withdrawal. Now, heroin withdrawal can kill you, but my understanding is that's rare and happens in extreme cases where there's no medical supervision. This is different because everyone on the planet believes they're going to die without the drugs. Remember, Picard decided to hold the cartel's water and not tell Planet A the truth. He's giving them a slap on the back and letting them continue to believe this is life-saving medicine, not just addictive drugs. So in addition to heroin withdrawal symptoms, everyone on the planet truly believes they are going to die unless they get to this shipment. Once word gets out, everyone is going to make a pilgrimage to wherever the drugs are because they'll think that's their only chance to live. It would actually be better if they didn't have the drugs because while everyone would still crash, it wouldn't create the same level of scarcity desperation than this lone shipment would. Now, there would still be loads of suicides and pandemonium overall because everyone thinks they're going to die and it's going to feel like it. But after they didn't, they could recover. But because this shipment still exists, that means whoever is in control of it will determine history. In the episode, we see their leader. He didn't look particularly strong-willed. My guess is he'll hoard it among his staff and use any defense forces to protect it. But then his defense forces might think, hey, why should we follow orders from him when we could take the drugs and ensure our survival instead? This is likely to lead to a military coup and could end up being a dictatorial situation, at least in the short term. It's highly possible war could break out over possession of this shipment because everything would be on the line. In the population's minds, it could literally be kill or be killed. Now, in the long term, anything could happen. This is a real crossroads in Planet A's history. A despot could rise to power, or maybe society recovers and comes out better than ever in the long run. Whole range of possibilities there. But for sure, that last shipment of drugs is a powder keg that is going to make everything worse. In the short term, this would be a complete nightmare survival situation straight out of a disaster movie. A lot of people are going to die from this. If Picard had told them the truth, that would probably prevent most lives lost. Now you might be thinking, what about the people from Planet B going with them? Can't they tell them the truth? Yeah, that's not gonna happen. You think they're going to let Planet A know they've been lied to their entire lives and they've secretly been toiling for their servitude? Sure, they'll say that if they want to get lynched. If they want to survive, they'll keep their mouths shut and pretend to be as surprised as everyone else when the withdrawal wears off. So that's Planet A. It's going to be hell on Earth initially, but then a period of reconstruction, changes to government and society at large. Or slipping into a dystopian dictatorial regime. Or they kill most of each other in war over the final drug shipment. Who knows, but it's gonna be interesting. And Picard's decisions made all this a lot worse. This is partially on you, Picard. But what about Planet B, the drug supplying society? Now what happens here is not Picard's fault. His actions didn't change the course of history in any way here. But they're going to be so bad, maybe he should have stepped in. The show says they're entirely dependent on Planet A. That means they have no farming, mining, processing, industry. The only thing they do is grow this drug. They're going to be the polar opposite of Planet A. At first, life will go on as normal. But as supplies start to dwindle, things will be more and more desperate and devolve into anarchy. And unlike Planet A, there's no light at the end of the tunnel here. They won't have the skills, labor, resources, or foresight to handle this. What needs to happen as soon as possible is to move all their operations into food production and essential supplies. But they're not equipped for that, and haven't been for hundreds of years. For all we know, that could all be lost knowledge. Planet A has provided for them for generations. Now, people can adapt, of course, but this needs to happen fast, and I'm not sure they'll be able to in time. You know when the best time to learn farming is? The answer is many months before you run out of food and begin starving. And we never see the surface, but judging from these flybys, that looks like a relatively barren planet. So that means food production has to be deliberate. They can't just head off into the woods and live off the land. It looks like there are no woods. I said a lot of people are going to die in Planet A's aftermath. That's going to be a walk in the park compared to Planet B. Best case scenario, the vast majority of the population dies from starvation. But some groups are lucky enough to not only stockpile and start learning farming immediately upon hearing the news, but manage to survive in the long term. Over a couple generations, the planet has been devastated, but what's left of the population has managed to switch over to an agrarian society. Worst case scenario, everyone on the planet goes extinct within a generation. It depends on how much food they had stockpiled prior to getting cut off. It doesn't help that the mind of the populace is probably not in the right place. The impression is the majority of the people live a life of luxury. Many may have never had to do real work in their lives. This is reflected in the show when, even though it's a facade, they were straight-faced trying to equate a lost investment to the seriousness of an entire population dying off. This planet is the equivalent of a wealthy country club or resort. These people have largely not lived lives that prepares them for what they're going to face. In light of all this, I got curious. What does the Prime Directive say about all this? According to a wiki page, it sounds like it's not an absolute. There are exceptional circumstances that can be taken into consideration. I'm not a space lawyer, but I think facing the extinction of an entire planet qualifies. So really, we're getting the worst of both worlds here. Picard violated the Prime Directive by sending those drugs back to Planet A, which is going to cause more harm, but then upheld the Prime Directive when it came to Planet B, perhaps ensuring their extinction. Now, I don't think Picard's a bad guy here. I think he just made bad judgment calls and was in a grumpy mood.
Abort, take us out of orbit.
Destination, sir.
I don't care. Let's just get some distance between us and this system.
I think he didn't realize just what kind of hell he was delivering to these people. What he should have probably done is follow Dr. Crusher's advice, who was all but yelling at him to let her make up a bunch of space methadone for Planet A to help them kick the habit. For Planet B, he should have arranged a supply drop. Maybe ask for volunteers from Planet A to come help them survive, and let everybody know they're in for hard times. Just give them a fighting chance. The episode made it seem like Picard was just showing these societies tough love, and how the path off of drugs is a hard one. Yeah, that love might have been a little too tough, what with millions, maybe billions dying. Partially because of their actions, and more because of their lack of action. Yeah, the wiki says the population is in the thousands, but that's never explicitly stated in the episode. That's a possible interpretation from what they say. Plus, that shipment covered 4 billion doses, and they need one dose every 3 days. And the freighter pilot has done 26 runs before in his career. The math doesn't add up for thousands. I think they're in the millions at least. Most Star Trek episodes end up with a situation resolved, or resolved enough so that there's some closure. Wow, not this one. If anything, this feels like a boring prequel to something way more awesome. I can't think of any other episode offhand where I would want to see what happens next than this one. You can make an entire side series just on what happens to these two planets after the Enterprise leaves. There's so many possibilities there. Anyway, I'm sure it's hard to envision how major destabilizing changes can transform society as we know it, occurring because of a plague or cut-off supply chain, but that's why we have Star Trek. It lets us imagine these things. Okay, bye.
La 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 la. Hello, little guy. I've never seen anything like you before. I can't wait to show you to my friends. You won't believe. What's going on?
China?
3? I'll take one off your hooves. Do you want the other one? Ugh, are you kidding? How could you not like? Now I gotta go find it.
Money printer.
Aww. Do you want to look nice for
The Queen.
or not? I'll take one. Me too. Oh, they're perfect.
I want them to be appreciative. We have done a job the likes of which nobody's seen.
What's there to worry about? Spike! Where did they come from?
I've developed mild symptoms of coronavirus.
Oh, are you okay? Look, Rarity!
I think we've done a great job.
Isn't that great? Please, Pinky, I've got a real problem.
Look, don't be a cutie pie, okay?
I see we're having the same problem. Ditto! Do something!
China.
Can't you control them? I've tried everything I know. I've tried begging and pleading and beseeching and asking politely and... Ugh. Here's all those
Respirators.
you wanna... But I still can't figure why I need so many. Hey! What do? I got it!
We should turn the coronavirus into a giant ball and then roll it away.
Gosh, what a tremendous idea. Twilight, I mean, Italy, also, I am gay. Look out, Rarity! That one's fixing to get away! Pinky, the princess could arrive at any moment.
We're doing great. It all will pass. And I think we're going to win faster than people think.
You are so random.
Yeah, no, I don't take responsibility at all.
Get her, ladies. Focus. All right. Ouch. We did it. Where did they come from? Well, I may have purchased one. Okay, here's the plan. Rainbow Dash, you distract them. Good! Everyone else, we need to build an exact copy of Ponyville right over there. We've got less than a minute! We're in the middle of a crisis here. This is no time for your... nonsense.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So
this is why it's so important to keep them away. Because if you get contacts them, everybody knows the jig is up. They're all fucked.
So is there a horrific scene where they've got this year infested and they watch him sit there for 3 days and slowly starve and die?
Yes.
That sounds fucked up.
So like, there's a point where like the Yerk just basically starts going insane because like Kendrona death is like how you kill like the worst traitors in the species.
Jake's head. Like, let me out or I'll fucking kill Jake.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to live,
He's too
dude.
pussy. He's too pussy to do it. I can tell.
So yeah, he basically just like the Yerk dies painfully and like falls out of his skull and just like dies and. screaming and dying.
Like, imagine you are intentionally starving a voice inside your head, and I'm sure it's trying to bargain with you to
Right.
not let it.
It does. It does all that stuff. It's like trying to like help. Like I'll
I imagine it goes through the 5 stages of grief, like right in front of them, as it like tries
It's
to
super
plead
fucked
for
up. And like as he dies, like the like because it's like wrapped around his brain, like Jake starts seeing like visions of like his previous posts and like its memories and stuff. And, like the synapses are connected.
So cool.
And totally fucks him. And again, more mental damage.
But this means Tom is free now.
Tom is not free. Tom has been reinfested with a lower ranked year because he was promoted, so he's going to get a better body. But the reason he got infested is because they uncovered a plot that they took over a hospital. So every patient that came into the hospital, they were going to secretly infect with a yerk. And so they went to go destroy the hospital, but Jake actually fell into the yerk pool by accident during the fight, and it crawled into his ear in a tiger form. And then he demorphed back to human, and nobody realized for a while. Fucked up. Okay. So, I don't know, that was just pretty cool. Fucking cool. Yeah. Fucking dope. Alright, so next up is the Elemist, who's fucking rad.
I read that book.
The Elemist Chronicles, I'm not even gonna go over it here, but it's fucking cool. It's a fucking cool book. So the Elemist is a kind of like god being in this world.
Cool.
Yeah. So this book starts is that they discover another entrance to the Yerk Pool, because there's entrances to the Yerk Pool all over the city. And so Tobias, because he's a hawk, what he does usually while they're in school is he'll fly around doing recon, trying to like find people who are commonly coming in and out of places, trying to find locations to enter the Yerk Pool. Because the Yerk Pool is the key to fucking these guys over. The more damage they can do to that, the better. So he finds another entrance. I believe it was in the Gap. There was like a changing room that they could get into the Gap. They fucking, yeah. There was they found another one in the McDonald's. You have to order a specific item. They'll take you behind the counter into the Yerk Pool. It's funny. It's cool. So they go down there, and they sneak in through cockroach morphs. So they're tiny little bugs. And they're trying to just like sneak pack and get in there. And they're found by a Taxon, and this Taxon just fucking eats them all. They're getting digested. And all of a sudden, time stops. Okay? Time fucking stops. And they're all of a sudden all demorphed. Tobias is now a human again, and they're in this like weird cafeteria where all these controllers were inside the Yerk Pool, but no one is moving. Time is completely frozen. And they're approached by this old wizardy guy called the Elements. And he's basically a god. He's like the super advanced, he's like the Q, but like better. He's like a super Q. He's super fucking stoked. And he's an omnipotent like god being. And for reasons we'll get into later, he cannot directly interfere with things, or is like not supposed to be directly interfering with stuff. And he tries to make a bargain with the Animorphs. He's like, you guys are going to lose. The Earth is going to be destroyed. The Yerks are going to win. But there is culture here that should be preserved. If you would like, I will remove you from this like time-space thing, and I'll bring you to another corner of the galaxy with yourself, your family, and a select other people and species of animals on the planet to preserve your culture, and everyone else will just die. Or you can stay here and continue the fight. If things will go back to the way they were, you'll be inside a Taxon. It'll be up to you to figure it out.
Oh, God, they'll really be right back to that situation.
Right.
Oh.
So he makes this deal with them. He's like, presents this option. And they're kind of like not really sure how to fucking process this because God is basically talking to them for all intents and purposes.
Told them you will lose. It's
Yes.
guaranteed.
You will lose this.
Now that this is on the table,
Yeah.
something big has to happen.
Yeah.
for us to go
Yo,
a different
what
way.
the fuck?
Alright. That really derailed all this whole operation. When God told us.
I thought they were going to be trying to find jawbreakers in the cul-de-sac. When I looked at the fucking cover of this book, I thought they were going to be teaming up with fucking the police.
I forgive you.
Criminals.
It's okay. So they decline the offer because they don't want to leave everybody else to die just to save themselves. So time was reverted, they're back in the Taxon, and they kind of were looking around and they noticed like an escape path that they could use. There's like this weird like alien elevator shaft that they noticed that they could kind of like, if they can get out of the Taxon, they can beeline it over there and quickly make an escape because they're being surrounded and shit. They totally fucked up this plan to take down the Yerk Pool again. And so they do that and they leave. Okay. Yep. They do that. God, I forget how, there's a second time that the Illimist approaches them later during peacetime. Why is like there a pissing sound over there?
The water drips sporadically in that room. It's part of the tropical theme.
Oh.
Very tropical.
Okay. So the Ellimist appears before them again later after the battle, a significant time after the battle, and basically presents them with the offer again, now that they've been totally fucking demoralized with this another crushing defeat. And this time they accept. They're like, okay, this is pretty fucked, but we're gonna accept this offer. And they do, like they're shown a future from the Illimist of like, this is what Earth is going to look like if you don't take this deal. And it's just like the entire city's destroyed. There's this big fucking spire where like the main central building in their town, their like city was, it has this big fucking Controna generator. And Visser 3 is like laughing, he's like taking over everything. It's like a fucking hellscape. Like, they totally wrong. So in light of seeing like everything destroyed and their efforts being in vain, they accept the deal. And so the vision fades and nothing has changed. Everything is still as it was, and they're confused. They're like, we accepted God's offer and he did not let us do anything. And so they eventually realized though that like the tower had like some significance in this vision. And they're like, maybe this is like something significant we should look into if this place, because like, again, there's a vision of the future of the place they're in right now. And so they're like, we've been looking for like their Kendrona generator that gives the pool power. It looks like that's an important place. Maybe we'll go up there. And so they go up there, they have a brutal fucking battle. They get like eviscerated and gored and fucking die, but they find the Kendrona generator there and destroy it.
In a tower that was built in their town?
Yeah, it's just like a big skyscraper building. But like in the vision, the skyscraper had been retrofitted and like there's a big Kendrona because there's big pools and everything all over the place. And so they eventually figure out that the Illimist never was going to offer them this deal in the first place. These visions were a way of him giving them information they needed to find this location without directly interfering. It's like he just plays games with them the whole time, right? The Illimist, fucking cool.
Okay.
He's fucking dope.
Does he like totally neutral, or does he have like a bias? Does he care which side?
He does have a bias. The Illimist's goal is that he wants to sustain life, whereas his foil, the Krayak, we'll get to later, wants to destroy it. And so they kind of play this eternal game with each other, trying to like manipulate species into doing their bidding. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So they do this thing with God. It's pretty badass. Okay. Next up, we're going to talk about is Ciro's kindness. This is one of the most important concepts in the entire book, or in the entire series. So this is a book that's mostly told through Axe's perspective, and so they destroyed this Kendrona. And the Yeerks can repair it eventually, but in the meantime, the Yeerk pool it's still like standing, but without getting the Kendrona rays, it makes it functionally useless. So Yeerks start dying, and they start dying in public because like they're just starving, trying to function as best they can. But again, like Jake, they had a fucking conniption fit. They're just people having conniption fits, just out in public, and everyone's fucking stoked because they're like, holy shit. This is gonna blow the doors wide open on this whole fucking invasion. There are people like screaming about being controlled by Yeerks and stuff. This is the best. Like they're in class and their teacher just starts having a fucking seizure because their teacher was a controller. I guess they were a controller. That's fucking weird. And Axe is just like depressed because he knows he's seen this tactic be done before, and none of these people are going to survive. They're all going to be quietly killed. And so this is like where some ethical ambiguity starts to develop in this book series, because up until this point, the Animorphs are the good guys, the Andalites are the good guys, the Yeerks are the bad guys. But now they find out this big devastating blow that they've caused to the Yeerks is going to result in thousands of innocent human deaths. Because as all these Yeerks starve, the hosts are going to be killed and keeping quiet.
Just a general question. Are there many pools across the entire planet? Is this the only one on Earth?
This is the only one on Earth right now.
Okay, alright.
The invasion, we'll get to it in Visser more, but just for the sake of answering the question, they, when they first land on Earth, they realize that America is like the most powerful military power.
Yeah.
So they decide, taking over America first is the right way to go.
America first. You said it right there, Brad.
You bet. USA.
Diss 'em.
Okay. So this is like a big blow to the Yeerks, but they're causing a lot of collateral damage that if they had known was going to happen, they might have not done it.
Luckily, that ethical thing wasn't on the table for them. They didn't know,
Right.
so there's no need to feel
But
bad
Axe
about it.
did know, and didn't tell them because he would rather deal a blow to the Yeerks and have this side effect to a lesser species he doesn't really care about as much right now. So he's just like, yeah, that's fine. And he says straight up to Jake, I knew about it, but I knew if I told you, you wouldn't go through with the plan. And I wanted the plan done, so I said nothing. He's like, why? Like, why don't you trust us? Why don't you talk to us? And he's like, I can't, because it's against the law of Ciro's kindness. I cannot reveal any information about Andalite technology or knowledge to lesser species.
That's fucking the prime fucking director from Star Trek.
Exactly. There's a lot of Star Trek analogies in this series. You can tell Applegate's a fan.
What the fuck is that?
So, we'll get into it. So, there's kind of like a schism between Axe and the rest of the group at this point, because they realize, like, you just, like, caused a bunch of our people to die and didn't tell us. And he's like, it's for the greater good. The Yeerks are fucking evil. And so he kind of, like, breaks off from the group for a while, and he tries to go after Visser 3, because he ends up finding a way to contact his people and tell them what's happening. And they're basically like, yeah, we're still going to be a while. We have other shit going on. But what happened to Elfengor? He's like, well, Elfengor died. He was killed by Visser 3. He's like, okay, he's dead. And, like, what happened? He's like, well, he gave these humans the morphing technology. I've been fighting with them. He's like, well, that was against Ciro's kindness. That's the biggest law that he broke. But he is a national, like, legend. We can't have his image be tarnished. You were the one who did it. You're responsible because you're just a cadet. We don't care about your image. You're going to take the public blame for this. Also, another law of our people is that you are now legally obligated to kill Visser 3 and get revenge on your brother. So it's your job now to go fucking murder him. So go do that. So he actually is then contacted by a Yeerk who he had, because he goes and like attacks this like this Yeerk place by himself to kind of get another communicator to fucking contact his people. And this Yeerk actually doesn't want to fight him. He's like, so here's what's going down. I want to help you, Axe. And the reason I want to help you is because now that our Kandrona is fucked, we are now rationing what portable Kandronas we have left. Because they have little tiny ones they can bring with them. And it's not enough to feed everybody. So they're rationing it, and Visser 3 is deciding, unimportant Yeerks, you get to die. So the more important people can live. And this Yeerk is like, my mate was chosen to die. I want revenge on Visser 3. Here's where he is. Here's his feeding ground where he's not aware people know. Go fucking kill him for me. So there's like some ethical ambiguity introduced here because the Andalites are kind of bad. This Yeerk's kind of doing a good thing. They show they have like emotions and stuff.
Yeerks like
They reproduce it actually.
Wait,
Well,
said he had a mate.
Well, like, the way it works is that, like, they don't, like, fuck or anything. Like, from what little I learned on the wiki is that, like, it's, like, 2 or 3, like, Yeerks, like, combined into one thing, and then they kind of, like, I guess, break off into a bunch of, like, smaller, there's, like, some asexual subdivision. It's very strange. It's not normal fucking.
I forget the specifics, but in Homestuck, the trolls reproduce in a sort of similar kind of way, where it's like you get 2 trolls, and then they put their genetics into a pail, and then the pail is taken up by an Imperial guard who flies it off to like a breeding grub ground, I believe, something like that. Yeah, so it's something like that. Yeah.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah. So basically he goes to try and kill Visser 3, but he fucks it up. The Animorphs come and save him because they're still like kind of tailing and make sure he doesn't do anything stupid and blow the cover or anything. They all kind of make up and like are good and happy again and all that kind of shit. And because they still had his back, he decides to break Ciro's kindness as well and trust them. And the law of Ciro's kindness is because Ciro was an Andalite. And what Ciro did is he discovered the Yeerks. And because he saw the Yeerks were fucking shit species, he shared all of their technology with him. And they revolted. So ever since they created the Yeerk problem, they decided to not sharing any knowledge or information with lesser species to prevent another Yeerks from happening. So they're not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. They're cleaning up the mess they made. So the Andalites are shown here to not be like galactic good guys. They're just kind of like trying to cover up their fuck up. So everybody kind of gets a little bit of ethical punishment.
The grays are showing. It's black and white.
And serious kindness comes into play all throughout the series, because it's like a thing that a lot of the other androids that come in later have to deal with. Okay, where are we at? How long has this been going on for? It's like,
What are we at?
We're going on 2 hours.
God.
I think we started like 12:30-ish. So an hour.
All right, I'm gonna do this one, and then I'm gonna take a break. I'm losing my voice.
Sure.
Okay. Where am I at? Okay, the last thing I'm gonna talk about right now is the Chi. So the Chi are a ally race that the Animorphs end up finding. There's like the Chi are basically like robotic dogs.
Fuck yes.
Okay, so the Chi were androids created by an ancient race called the Pemalites. And the Pemalites were killed by another species called the Howlers, which we will get to both of those later. So the Chi were like their android companions, and they're all super pacifists, and they can't fight directly, but they end up like helping the Animorphs with reconnaissance and stuff, because what they do is like they're robot dogs, but they have really powerful hologram technology. So they can walk around and look and feel human, but they're robots over there. So what they've been doing is they've been pretending to be controllers and like getting information on the Earth and stuff. And so they decide to help the Animorphs gather.
Sorry, how do they pretend to be controllers? Wouldn't like you just instantly know that they're not controllers?
Well, the Years can't like telepathically communicate.
But they must know, like, oh, okay, let me look at my spreadsheet. Oh, we've got, fucking Temrash 246.
So what they do is they will pretend to get captured and infested. The Yeerk will be trapped in the robot body. They will starve them and die. And then when they go back 3 days later, they project a hologram of a Yeerk going into the pool, lock themselves in a cage, and then go back in, project one going back in, and go about their business and start spying around and collecting information, pretending to be a controller.
How many of these are there?
There's only a handful.
Okay.
There's only a few.
Can the Yeerks like tell that another controlled species?
No. They have no way.
They don't stop speak like humans.
Are the Chi, were they already on Earth when they come here?
The Pemalites were on Earth like a bajillion years ago, and they got extinct like way before Satan happened. And they've been around forever, they're like immortal androids.
We're on Earth this entire time.
Correct. They're pacifists just hiding. They have like this whole like underground thing that they kind of like hide out in. The reason they're brought into the story here is that there is the remains of a Pemalite ship, like way beneath the fucking ocean, and the Yeerks found like a piece of technology there that they're trying to use as a power source. And the Chi want them back, and so the Animorphs help them get it. And one of the interesting things is that the artifact that they have can actually reprogram the Chi. And so the reason the Animorphs help is that the Chi are fucking god tier powerful. They just pass, so their programming does not allow them to fight. So if they can get this artifact back, they can reprogram the Chi, they can end the war in like an instant, because these guys are so fucking god tier powerful. And so they do that, they find this artifact, and like there's a battle at the end of this book. This is like one of the most like violent fucking things. In fact, I wanted to make sure I read the wiki verbatim of this end book, just to give you an idea of what the fuck we're dealing with here. Because it's so fucking hardcore. Because like they find this artifact and they use it because the main Chi that they befriend is named Eric the Chi. He changes his programming. Well, he's masquerading as like a kid in their school, and that's how they first find him. He's just like going to school, being a normal kid. Because like he has to play his role as like I'm a controller, I'm a kid they found, and now I'm sneaking around doing my thing. And they kind of like they meet him. They find Eric at like a meeting of the sharing. They morph into dogs to try and spy on the Yeerks to figure out what they're doing. And they notice that Eric has no scent because he's not a human, and they can have a cute scent of smell as dogs. And so then they morph wolf spiders, because wolf spiders have the ability to like see differently, like in infrared spectrum and stuff. And they notice that there's a robot over there, it's not really a person. And so from there, they try and figure out what the fuck's going on. Anyway, it's like a lot of extra detail. Let's see if I can find this fucking picture. Yeah, I took a screenshot. Fuck. I know. It's too late. Okay. The Animorphs successfully steal the Pemalite crystal and engage in their second outnumbered fight against numerous Hork-Bajir controllers following their first serious combat situation in the previous book. During this fight, Marco, in his gorilla morph, is disemboweled, brutally beaten with both sharp and blunt instruments, and is eventually stabbed in the heart. Marco succumbs to his injuries, although before he dies, he manages to get the crystal to Eric.
I'm sorry, what?
He dies. He dies temporarily.
Okay.
Using the crystal to remove his restrictions, Eric brutally murders all of the human controllers as well as over 24 Hork-Bajir. His actions are witnessed by the other Animorphs except Marco, who is dead at the time.
What do you mean remove his restrictions?
He's a pacifist.
Restrictions that make him
As a pacifist.
He's got some fucking like Asimov like law of robotics.
Right.
Cannot harm others thing.
So, this brutality, all the human controllers, no, not all in this combat situation, they're outnumbered like 20 to 1 at this point, and he just single-handedly like destroys like 50 guys by himself. So his brutality moves Rachel to tears. Remember, Rachel's the fucking Amazonian, and even she's like freaked out by this. After committing mass murder, Eric takes the Animorphs to a safe location, managing to resuscitate Marco's heart and bring him back to life, allowing Marco to demorph from his fatal injuries, as well as reattaching Axe's severed arm. Traumatized by his actions, Eric reinstalls his initial programming and offers to help the Animorphs henceforth in a non-violent manner, unable to bring himself to kill again.
Yay!
And that's how every combat encounter usually works, like horrible death and murder like that.
How fun. They ever take his limit back off?
They don't.
They don't?
They end up destroying the crystal so it can't be used by the Yeerks again. So they have no way to change his programming after that book.
What does the crystal do for the Yeerks?
It's like a very strong power source.
For Kandrona rays?
Among other things.
Okay.
Alright, take a pause.
Let's take a break.
Yeah.
Die.
What the fuck?
This is a book written for 9-year-olds.
It's awesome.
Alright. Cool. We're back from our break. Woo! Thanks for coming back.
Hey.
We're gonna demerit. See me after class. You get extra homework. And my unending ire from this point forward.
I want to get possessed by a Yeerk.
Yeerk in the ear for you.
Yeah.
Alright. So we're picking up at the Andalite Chronicles. So this is the first Chronicles book. This is like a sub-series within the Animorphs canon. This is explaining some greater context to the war itself that happened before it comes to Earth. So the Chronicles books are prequels to the Animorphs series proper. This book focuses mostly on the life and history of Elfangor, the prince who gave them their morphic power in the beginning of the series. This kind of fleshes out his story, some more information on like the war between the Yeerks and the Andalites, and lets us gain some more clarity on some key characters in the series itself. So the book takes place mostly out in space in Andalite Yeerk stuff, but in terms of like Earth time, it's during 1976, and it follows Elfangor and his friend Ardrum, who are both Aeriths. They're both cadets at the time the book starts, and they are under the command of War Prince Alaron, and he's like a disgraced Andalite for some bad war crimes he did during the Hork-Bajir conflict, which will be explained later down there. So the book picks up, Elfangor is pretty much in the same boat that Axe is in the series proper. He's a cadet and he wants to kind of make a name for himself. He's excited to join the conflict and prove himself and kill some Yeerks and be a badass.